Hello, and welcome to the next juicy episode of What's the Tea? It's the Progressive Leadership Alliance in Nevada's podcast where we talk about everything that is hot and piping here in Nevada. We are serving up the latest buzz on government and all of the coolest locals in town. My name is Laura Martin. I'm the Executive Director of the Progressive Leadership Alliance in Nevada. That's my co-host, Mr. Cranio, over here. And today we have the pleasure of speaking with Emily Zamora, who is the Executive Director of Silver State Voices. Today we are going to cover what's on our ballot, everything that's going to do with the general elections, and also what is Silver State Voices up to when it comes to protecting our vote. So with no further ado, Emily, welcome. How are you doing today?
Hi, a little tired, but trying to protect democracy, but happy to be here with you. And I've got my pumpkin with me.
Yay, we're festive. I think you're a little more festive than I am right now, but I love it.
I love Halloween, and I need something to give me a little life right now.
Yeah. So Emily, I feel like I have known you for probably more than a decade, like before you were a mom, before you were a wifey. I think even before you graduated college. So I'm
Yeah,
really proud of you where you are right now.
thank you.
Director era. I love it. I love how fierce you are as a boss. And you are leading an incredible team. So can you tell us about SSV and what y'all do?
Yeah. First and foremost, thank you for having me today. So I have the privilege of being the executive director of Silver State Voices. We serve as a 501c3 civic engagement table that coordinates progressive C3 organizations on all things civic engagement and democracy. We are the Nevada affiliate of the State Voices Network, and we have so many different roles, but really, we're just really centered in ensuring that all underrepresented communities are at the forefront of democracy. And what I really love about our work is that we have 23 organizations that are our table partners that represent different issues and different communities, and we get to work with each and every one of them to ensure that they are informing their communities of what's on the ballot, getting them registered to vote, making sure that we're together, advocating for equitable voting policies, and so on and so forth.
All right. That's a lot.
Yeah.
You do a lot of great work, and I would argue that maybe one of the most important things y'all do is the Election Protection Program. We are going to share the link to sign up. So, can you talk a little bit about it?
Yes. So since 2012, our organization has been responsible for coordinating the nonpartisan election protection work in the beautiful state of Nevada. We team up with our partners at ACLU of Nevada in order to run this program. And so we have three counties that are our priority location counties that are Clark, Washoe, and Nye. And we recruit legal and non legal volunteers to serve as our eyes and ears on the ground at polling locations. And so this Saturday, we're actually going to be kicking off our program since it's the first day of early vote. And we're still looking for folks to serve all throughout early vote and on election day. And so if you're interested in helping protect democracy and ensuring that every voter, regardless of political affiliation, is able to cast their ballot without any issue, you should click on the link that Plan will provide and sign up to be a volunteer. It's really important that folks stay nonpartisan. I think that's one of the beauties of our program. You know, Democrats, Republicans run their own programs, but we love helping each and every voter.
Yeah. And I do also want to clarify because sometimes when we're recruiting volunteers, like sometimes the pushback is, I don't want to, I don't like confrontation. You're not talking to everybody. You're really just observing. If you see there's a long line, you're giving people water, just keeping people
Yes.
comfortable. So you're not being forced to talk to everybody. who
that
comes in.
that
We
is
actually kind of don't want you to talk to everybody.
Yeah, no, yes, that's totally correct. If you are a person that likes confrontation, we've got other opportunities for you, but but this is definitely just being kind of our eyes and ears on the ground, letting us know what are the wait times at said polling location, offering snacks and water if there are longer wait times, letting us know, what's going on, so that we can ensure that if there are any issues, that we're working with the elections department, with the registrar specifically, in solving any particular issues. And if there is anything that we need to, let our partners know, so they can direct traffic to other locations if they're very busy. Those are, some of the reasons why we do this particular program.
Yes, exactly. So, Emily, in June, I think June 12th, we voted. So we don't need to vote again, right?
Yes, we do. Yes.
When do we
Uh,
vote again?
So it's up to the voter, but early voting starts this Saturday, October 19th, and you can vote starting that day up until Friday, November 1st. During early voting, the times of locations vary, so take a look at all of the information that I'm sure Plan will be providing. But if you are maybe a traditionalist, and you like to go on election day, then you can vote on election day from 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. What's really important is that if you're one of those last minute folks and you get in line at 6:55, that you stay in line. As long as you've gotten in line before 7 p.m., you have the legal right to stay in line and cast your ballot. And if you are a little bit more nuanced, then you would have already most likely received your mail-in ballot in the mail, and you can cast your ballot that way, putting it in your mailbox or dropping it off at a elections department drop box. Not any fake drop boxes, but one that is governed by the elections department.
Exactly. So now some juicy questions about ballot initiatives. I believe we have 7, and then if you live in Washoe, there's also a Washoe County. So if you live up there,
Yes.
you'll have 8. So the one that we have talked most about is question 3.
Yes.
Silver State Voices and Plan are on the same side of this issue as are Planned Parenthood, unions, elected officials, Republicans, conservatives, MAGA Republicans, everybody is a no. So, can you talk a little bit about why you, defender of democracy, why you're a no on question 3?
Yeah. I think, as you mentioned earlier, you and I have been doing this for quite some time, and I think this is the first time that I have seen a ballot initiative that both the Democratic Party and the Republican Party are aligned on their opinion,
Yeah,
which really makes you think, if that's the case and there's so many different variables that they don't agree on, why do they not agree on this? And for me, at Silver State Voices, and for our partners, there are a variety of different reasons. One, this ballot initiative, I would say about 95% of the money that's being collected for this ballot initiative is being funded by out of state millionaires and billionaires. Nevada itself, when it comes to politics, unfortunately, it's not foreign to receiving out of state money, due to the fact that we are a battleground state. However, what's different is the type of people that are actually giving money to this ballot initiative. They are people that don't have the best interest when it comes to access to democracy for many of our communities. They're not aligned in a lot of the issues that are important to organizations like Plan, such as housing. And so for us, that was just the first red flag. And as we started doing our research, there has been a lot of conversations from folks who are very well rounded on the theme of ranked choice voting that firmly believe that these individuals are doing this because they want to elect more moderates into office, specifically on the federal level. And I don't know about you, Laura. I don't know what more moderates has ever done for any of the issues that we care about and any of the communities that we work for. I think a second reason that we're just really opposed to this is the narratives that have been created by the Yes campaign. You know, every single commercial that you have seen or text message, mailer, anything that you have seen from the Yes campaign is only about open primaries. And they don't actually talk about how the primaries will work or anything like that. It's just open primaries. They don't talk about ranked choice voting. Voters don't know, unless you're getting yourselves educated, that it's a top 5 general because of the primary. And once you start to actually realize this, you see that what you're being told is not the actual truth. The way that I was raised is that omission is still lying.
Yes.
And the Yes campaign does not agree with that. But in my opinion, omission is still lying. So, Laura, if I may, I'll kind of go into like how it would work if it were to pass. So, knocking on wood that it doesn't, but if it were to pass, what would happen would be that everybody would be able, regardless of your party registration, you would be able to vote in the primary election for any position that you would like, regardless of the registration of the candidates that are running. One note that's really important is that this ranked choice voting aspect only applies to certain positions. It applies to state legislature, constitutional office, U.S. Senate, and U.S. Congress. And I said Nevada constitutional. It does not apply to presidential, and it doesn't apply to any of the other seats. So that may sound confusing, and believe me, it will be confusing. So in the primary, you will get to cast your ballot. The top 5 people in each race will now move on to the general. So you're not doing any ranking in the primary. That's something I really need to point out, because there are a lot of people who think that you're doing the ranking in the primary. That's not the case. So in your state congressional race, I'll use this as an example. When you're voting in the general, you're now not only going to vote for just one person, you're supposed to vote for 5 people. And you're voting for those 5 people by ranking who's your first choice, second choice, third choice, fourth choice, fifth choice. What's really important here is that recently the Yes campaign has said in numerous occasions that voters don't have to do that if they don't want to. They can just vote for their first choice. That's not how ranked choice voting is supposed to actually work. Because the problem is that with the ranked choice voting system, if your first pick, and you only put one pick, does not make the threshold of 50%, then your vote pretty much did not just count, because you didn't rank anybody else. And so you would actually need to rank 5 people totally. The Democratic Party tried this out for their caucus in 2020 to test, to see if this was actually a more effective form of voting. And it was a nightmare. And that's why they stopped using it moving forward.
Yeah, exactly. I think I had said that once to somebody. I was like, well, if you love the caucus, get ready for question 3, because it's going to be that on steroids. And I just think there's so much duplicity when it comes to how they're campaigning, saying that nonpartisans can't vote in primaries, which is an absolute lie. I'm registered with the party, but there are more nonpartisan races on my ballot than partisan. So there's plenty of opportunities. And I also don't like the argument of fairness. Like, it's not fair if I'm registered as this, I can't vote for that. Well, I'm a resident of North Las Vegas and my friend lives in Reno and's running for office. Is it not fair that I can't vote for her? I mean, it's all
Amen.
government money that we pay for our elections. And it's just so many silly arguments. And I also just think that this could have been a good way to really engage people in democracy, but this is basically a ballot initiative that was put upon us. There was no
Yes.
outreach to groups beforehand. There was no focus groups. There was no testing. You know, I appreciate what they're doing in Minnesota. Governor Walz, who's now running for vice president, he allowed counties to test it first, to test to see if they liked it, and then he'll pursue a state law, which is different than question 3, which would amend our Constitution. So if it does pass and becomes part of our Constitution and it hurts us in 2026 elections, that means we have until 2030 to remove it. So that means we have to suffer basically through 3 elections with a broken ranked choice voting process.
Exactly. And, there are so many races in the state of Nevada that are so close, overall, just in the current system that we have. And I can't imagine adding these additional layers of chaos to our process to make things even tighter. There was a case in San Francisco of a city race that after tabulations, there was a winner that was announced, and they had to rerun tabulations and realized that they announced the wrong winner and had to retract that. And so, if that's happened in a place like San Francisco, that usually is a lot more ahead of technology, especially around elections, what's to say that something like that couldn't happen here? And there's deep consequences for giving somebody a position and then having to take it back.
Yeah.
And the
Yeah.
last thing is that ballot initiatives in itself are so expensive, right? I
Yeah.
think that's something that maybe the public's not really aware of. I love the ballot measure process because it allows the everyday citizen to be able to voice their opinion on issues. But the yes side, for example, has been so successful in 2022. They raised almost $23 million. And the amount has been similar to that. If this is something that doesn't actually end up being effective, then we're going to have to raise that level of money to be able to remove it from the ballot from our constitution, excuse me, two
Mhm.
times. That's somewhere around like almost maybe 40 to 50 million dollars, when that is money that could be used for a lot of other amazing things.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's just a nightmare and it needs to go away.
Yes.
Speaking of things that need to go away, question 7. So this is another, I don't know if it's a problem looking for a solution, looking for a problem, or a GOTV method for people who don't want folks like who look like us to vote. And so tell me a little bit about question 7.
So, question 7, it proposes that every Nevada voter, if this were to pass, would have to show a form of ID in order to cast their ballot, whether that's in person or by mail. So for folks who may be watching, the state of Nevada is a signature verification state, and that's how we confirm every voter's identity. So if you're voting in person, when you check in, you don't have to show your identification. You provide your name. They may ask you your birthday, your address, and once they have been able to pull you up, they will ask you to sign your name. And the election registrars cross reference your signature with what is on file with the Department of Motor Vehicles and Social Security. and verify your signature. What this would do is that would no longer be the case, and every Nevada voter would have to show a form of identification. This is a problem for a variety of different reasons. The research that has been conducted on voter ID, one, shows that this is the modern day poll tax, right? Many of our ancestors in early on in our country, but especially in the 50s and 60s, saw that they were denied the right to vote in their states, especially in southern states, because of rigorous poll taxes. They used to have jars with jelly beans or cotton balls, and you'd have to guess how many were in the jar in order to pass. Some states had literacy tests, ridiculous things like that, and those are all because they only wanted certain types of people to vote. So I think that's the one thing that voters really need to know. Two, accessing an ID is not as easy as 1, 2, 3, counting 1, 2, 3, right? One, you need certain documents to be able to go to the DMV and get your driver's license, ID, or permit. Not everybody has immediate access to their birth certificate, social security card. Right? I moved from New York a long time ago, but that's where I was born. And when I had to go to the DMV, I had lost my birth certificate sometime in my process of enrolling in college here, and I had to go online and fill out the paperwork with New York and get my birth certificate. That took about 7 to 10 business days. What if I was that voter that did not know that I needed to show an ID and I didn't have an up-to-date Nevada driver's license? The elections are only a certain period of time. We're lucky that we have even, this amount of time, but what's to say that somebody can go easily ask for their birth certificate to be able to go to the DMV, get an appointment, and go actually get their license, and then go back to register to vote and cast their ballot? That's a whole bunch of different steps out there to put this burden on folks for something that is their constitutional right. And Laura, I'm sure we're probably going to talk about this, but one of my biggest frustrations that I hear from proponents that are yes on this is well, I have to show ID to buy alcohol. Why can't I? Oh, why don't I have to? Why shouldn't I have to show ID to vote? If you want to buy alcohol for your Friday night turn up, that's on you, and that's great. But the United States Constitution does not protect that. It only regulates at what age you have to be in order to purchase it. It doesn't give you the right to purchase alcohol. The United States Constitution guarantees every person who is a U.S. citizen and 18 years of age the constitutional right to vote. And we cannot be putting barriers for any Nevadan to access that constitutional right.
Yeah. Ironically, you need an ID to buy alcohol or weed. You did not need an ID to sign their ballot petition, because I asked, and they were very frustrated that I asked them that. But
touche.
I know. Excuse me. So I vote by mail. I don't like waiting in line. I don't like voting on election day. So how do I show ID?
So you would actually have to provide a copy of your ID in your vote by mail ballot if this ballot initiative were to pass.
Where do I get a copy? I don't have a copy machine. It's just so much. And I think at the end of the day, like, heaven forbid this passes, knock on wood or whatever this is made out of, then they're just going to say your ID's fake. Oh, you got an ID? Let me see it. It's fake. It's just going to be something else.
Yeah, and this is not, this is not a Las Vegas nightclub where people can just easily, kick you out of line and you're just going to figure out new plans, right? This is accessing our actual right to vote. And speaking of IDs, I think one of the things that is another reason why we are collectively opposed to this ballot initiative, it is that there is a cost in accessing ID. This ballot initiative, as it's written, and there's no changing the writing of the ballot initiative because it's already on the ballot and has qualified, but there is no current form of providing free IDs to folks who may not be able to afford it. Currently in the state of Nevada, an ID is $22 if you're getting an ID or you're renewing. However, if you have experienced something, maybe you just are really busy working elections and you forgot to renew your license and it gets suspended, that's $75 to renew. And your license, that's a lot of money, and that's not pocket change for the everyday Nevadan. In states like Indiana that actually did include a portion of providing IDs for folks, they spent $10 million on IDs for voter ID specifically. And that's $10 million. Our state could be using that money for housing, for education.
Yeah, that's pretty wild. And I shout out to Fines and Fees Justice Center, because there's also states, and I know we worked in Nevada to end this. There's states too, you can't renew your license or get a license. Your license will be suspended if you owe parking tickets, child support, other fines and fees, which is why they have a great named organization. But it's like, that shouldn't be the reason why you don't vote. Even, you need to pay your damn child support, but
yes,
that
amen.
shouldn't be a reason why that you can't vote. It's just silly.
Yeah. And another form of, people that usually have suspended is licenses is DUIs, right? And it's actually more expensive. I think it's 100, somewhere between 100 to 125 to re-get your license if you have had a DUI. That's a bad choice that they made, but they still have the constitutional right to vote. And just thinking about these things, we're just adding more and more barriers to folks to be able to access what's their constitutional right, and that just is not right.
Yeah. And I think you and I were on the same webinar with the U.S. Attorney and some FBI agents about the work that they do to root out voter fraud. And Nevada's elections, regardless of who the Secretary of State have been, either Ross Miller, Barbara Zagacki, now it's Cisco Aguilar, they're safe. And ironically, the few times that people have been caught, it's been one specific party. I know this is a C3 podcast, but
Mm-hmm.
they haven't been members of Obama's party. And so we
Yes,
have caught it, and quickly, and those people have been prosecuted.
they have. And you know i I've been doing this work for a really long time, and part of the privilege of doing this work is I get to spend a lot of time behind the scenes with the registrars and their teams, with the Secretary of State's office, whether it's at the legislature where we're talking about policies that we need to pass, or touring their facilities to be able to see all of the systems going to play, so that I can come into spaces like this and say, I have seen it myself, right? And that's the reality, is that there are so many policies and procedures that have gone into play, whether it's from on a county level or through bills that have been passed through the legislature or through the procedure manuals that the Secretary of State's office puts into play, to ensure that every ballot is counted, that our elections are conducted in a safe and secure manner. And so this narrative that unfortunately people of one political ideology have created since 2016, that our elections are not safe, that they're rigged or what have you, that's stolen, that's just fake news. And what I do know is that all of the past elections have been safe, and this one will be too. And if they want to come with this ruckus this time around, we have them on notice.
Yes. And so my last question is the most important one, Emily. Who is the best SSV partner? I'm just kidding.
I love it. I love it. I don't have any, I can't say that I have any favorites, but I do love working with Plan. All of your staff are really amazing folks, from you to your comms team to your organizers. And I really appreciate how invested that you all are on democracy. You all are always great thought partners, ready to get scrappy when needed. And you're really invested on the communities that you serve. And that's a privilege to be able to work with folks that are ready to get down whenever it's actually needed. So me and all of my team are really grateful for all that you all do.
Oh, thank you. We love working with you, and just so proud to just see how your organization has grown under your leadership. I mean, I feel like SSV was like two people in a closet, and now you have like a real team who's like being inclusive and getting real work done every single day.
Yeah. I've gotten a lot of gray hairs in the meanwhile, but that's why I dye my hair every 6 weeks.
Right. Same, girl. Same. All right. Well, we're going to do some closing, but we will let you go. Thank you so much. We'll keep dropping the link for the signups for election protection. We also want to plug our C3 friendly voter guide. That means it's nonpartisan. It doesn't have candidates. It'll be up on there, Learn the Vote. And definitely our call to action. Please make sure if you have free time, if you have 1 free hour, you can use that hour to do some election protection. Again, you're just observing, you're watching the line, you're helping out when needed. It's really chill. You're not confronting, or you don't have to talk to anybody. It's really easy to do. And then, of course, make sure you're following Plan on TikTok, Instagram, Twitter, Facebook. Each one of those is PLA Nevada. So please find us there. Thank you for finding us here on YouTube too, PLA Nevada. So thank you for sipping the tea. Me and Mr. Cranio are going to go find something to do. Thank you all.